Pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by Charles Edmond, live from Alcorn State University. Here's the guest menu for today's show, September the 16th. Of course, Charles Edmond joins us. Mo Carter, sports director, Fox 54 in Huntsville, Alabama. He'll join us. A Southern alum, a Louisiana native, but he covers Alabama A&M. He'll give us a preview of an Alabama A&M football team that is playing Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Of course, our regular guest, Coach Vann Pettaway, joins us live, I believe, from Baton Rouge. I think he's here for the Southern Alabama A&M football game. And then A.D. Willa Brown joins us. Here's simply what's trending, and we'll get right into it on the Carlos Brown Show. Southern football is off to a horrible start. Slow, horrible, whatever adjectives that you want to use. 0-2 has not said well. Not said well with the Jaguar Nation. Also, what's trending? Concerns on renewing Roman Banks' contract. And it was an article produced by a young lady from the Southern University Digest, a student newspaper. And so it begs the question, will the powers that be, when it's all said and done, will Roman Banks get a contract extension? Also, is Southern University's football game a must-win? Now, some of my colleagues perhaps don't believe that this is a must-win. I'll let you decide. But I know this. It is important. It's a conference game. And yeah, the goals are still ahead of them. But this team needs a victory in the worst way. They need it. Also, a tough weekend last week for SWAC football. Out of conference play, still challenging. That's simply what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Before bringing Charles Edmonds with his first comments, I just want to say congratulations to Jackson State. You know, when you play a rival, an intense rivalry like Southern and Jackson State, and Jackson State came in and took care of business, it leaves the Jaguar Nation in a sour mood. And I understand the frustration of Jaguar Nation. Constructive criticism. Everyone needs it. Everyone needs it. But if we kind of just step back and look at it, 7-7 in 14 games with Coach Dooley. Yes, a Western Division championship, albeit some of you say, well, they backed into it. Well, nevertheless, they got to the championship game and they lost to Jackson State. But from what I can gather from some of you in the Jaguar Nation, here's some of the things that stick out to you. Promised an offense that was fast and explosive. Hadn't had it. 12 points a game so far in the young season. That's 10th in the conference. They share that with a couple other teams, one being Alcorn State. -7 in turnovers, ball security. And once again, constructive criticism is valid. It really is. Offensive line play has not been good. I want to see tonight if there are going to be some changes in the offensive line. And then the running game has just been impotent. I can't put it no other way. And if you look at last week's ball game, they threw Coach Dooley in the offense and Harold Blood 44 passes. What have we talked about all during the summer? You got to have balance in offense, and they have not been able to establish a running game, and hopefully there's going to be some changes in the offensive line. And then, too, they still got to stick with it if it's not successful early on. The commitment to run the football. Ultimately, the slow start falls on Coach Dooley. He's the CEO. And it begs the question again, is tonight's game a must-win? Congratulations to Jackson State. 27-14 over Southern University last week. 0-2 on the season. Tonight, Alabama A&M, ESPN Plus at 6 p.m. Charles Edmond, I got my little commentary out of the way. Good morning to you.
Good morning. The Braves Nation and Jaguar Nation kind of in a sour mood here in the first couple of games of the season, for sure.
Yeah, and particularly offensively. And if you pull up kind of the stats, once again, Southern University scored first. Augustus Petrie, 64-yard pass reception, long pass play. A good move he put on the defensive back for Jackson State, albeit it looks like he did also slip and fell down. 13-7 at the half, and then outscored 14-7 in the second half, 27-14. And I guess it's frustration too because of Alabama State. Scored first, couldn't sustain. And then 29,986. It was packed in the place. And when you play in Jackson State and you lose, it's disappointing to say the least. But then the previous week, now Jackson State, and now you come to Alabama A&M. But 44 passes Southern University threw. Net yards rushing, 221 for Jackson State, 54 for Southern University. I circled that, 54. Net yards passing, 320 for Southern, 184 for Jackson State. Total offense, 405 for Jackson State, 374 for Southern University. 25 of 44, 1 TD, 2 interceptions for Harold Blood. But we can just see it. No running game whatsoever. And if you're going to throw the ball 40-plus times, not good at all. Not good at all. So this Jaguar Nation, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and I know Jaguar Nation can be very tough, but it's one of the nastiest moves I've seen for Southern University. Yeah. Mr. Carey says JSU exposed Southern University. Well, Troy says, good morning. Southern is not committed to establishing the run. Well, that is true. Carlos, in your opinion, do you think Coach Dooley will make necessary adjustments to win? So far, he hasn't. Thanks for that, Rusty. It would behoove Coach Dooley to make adjustments. But I like a balanced offense, and you're not seeing that now. And I can tell you this, Charles, every other team, until they get better at it, that is the same way they're going to approach Southern's offense. We're going to stop the run, and we believe that you can't beat us throwing the football. Can adjustments be made? Yes. Sometimes you can't be stubborn, man. So I want to see. The depth chart, will be some changes in the O-line, and then quarterback, I'll just put it out there. If Harold Blood struggles with ball security, do you have a short leash? Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, there is a lot to unpack there, Carlos, and I think we're kind of in the same boat too, as far as offensive woes are concerned. With us, it's running. We're running the football, but throwing the football has been a struggle. Don't even have 100 yards passing through the first 2 games with 2 quarterbacks, and Tyler Macon and Aaron Allen. Aaron Allen will get the start, by the way, in today's game against McNeese later on. But is this a must-win game for Southern University? Yes. I think as you get into confidence, just the mental aspect, the mental psyche of this game, based on what happened last week, like you said, 30,000 in the house. You couldn't ask for a better setting. I was looking at some of the pictures and video. I had Jackson to win the game towards the end of the show. I had him winning the game for the very reasons that you spilled out. I think there's still lack of continuity in quarterback play, running the football, lack thereof, not being able to run the football, throwing it all over the yard. I kind of felt like some adjustments might not be made in this game last week. And I felt that Southern was going to play with a lot of tension and pressure because they were at home. If the game were in Jackson, I probably would have picked Southern to win the game because, yes, I would have picked because Southern's done that before. Remember, we've been on this show. There have been times in which, as you said, the Jaguar Nation is crucified, whether it's Coach Odoms or Dooley, whatever the case, and they come up big on the road. They won at Prairie View. This is in the past now. When their backs are against the wall, playing in hostile environments, they come up big. But at home, and you said it, and I've seen it, and you've seen it, there just seems to be a little bit more tension when you're playing at home, whether it's at Mumford, Heinz Field, the Baby Dome. I kind of felt that, and it happened. So you got Alabama A&M. You got Coach Maynard talking a little bit. I think Jaguars will be a little more relaxed, but if they're one-dimensional, it's going to be tough. And the question is whether or not is Blood the quarterback. At some point, you got to make a decision as you get deeper into this schedule. You have Bama State and Jackson State to figure it out. You got to figure it out after this week, regardless of what happens. If you're going to go with Blood, fine. Just like with us, it's either Aaron Allen or Tyler Macon. Tyler Macon's not 100%. That's why he's probably not going to play. He hurt his ankle last week, so Aaron Allen will get the start. But if Blood is healthy and he's ineffective, like you said, with the turnovers, ball security, at what point do you have to make a change with the season on the line? And so, I mean, you hate to say it in week 3, but I think, Carlos, you hit the nail on the head. I do think it's a must-win for Southern University coming off the Bama State and Jackson State wins. I think defensively, and you've talked about it, we were texting back and forth, is the defense good enough to get off the field? Unlike here at Alcorn, where our defense has been outstanding. 3 interceptions last week. You know, we sacked McNeese 10 times last year when we played them. If we get after the quarterback here, our defense can hold up. But can Southern's defense hold up against Alabama A&M if their offense continues to sputter? So I think different dynamics, but the pressure, I think, is clearly on Southern to get it done at home, because once you get on the road, it's not an easy road, especially if you're behind the chains and behind in the standings.
Well, I don't know, Charles. The way I saw Jackson State defense, and they were pretty doggone good. Let's just put it out there. They dominated Southern offense in line. They got a tremendous push. That game in Jackson, I think it's the same results. I'm sorry. I mean, in the past, yeah, they've had some great games, but the last 2 times they visited Veterans Memorial, they came away with a loss. But previously before then, JSU defense pretty doggone good. Pretty doggone good. I don't know about that, but I'm putting the question out there. Is it a must win for Southern University? And in spite of we see the 2 previous games, it set a bad precedent as far as the mood of the fans. So with the quarterback play, just my opinion, ball security are struggling. And let's put the quarterback in a position to be successful. Let's utilize all the weapons offensively on the tight end, backs out. But number one, they've got to start being successful running the football. And if ball security becomes an issue, I would have a quick hook. I'm going with somebody else. I need a spark. And for Coach Dooley, to be honest, and if you go on social media, and I've got to the point now, I can't really read too much of it. It's so brutal. But again, people have a right to voice their opinion. Let's see now with coaching. Let's see with a little adversity now. Well, a lot of adversity. Let's see how he responds and the staff to this game. You can't get those 2 previous games back. But starting tonight and going forward, you've got to get it going. You got to get off to a fast start. I mean, the defense has played well. The only thing that I've seen is that on 3rd downs, they have not gotten off the field a lot of times. It could be 3rd and long. They've got to get off the football field. And then, of course, tackling in space, that's an issue throughout college football. There could be some improvement there. And then the defense is, and I pulled up the stats, after 2 games, they're in the top 3. but offensively, they're way down. Way down. So you've got to start seeing some improvement ASAP. And if not, and we've already seen people in the chat room talking about Coach Dooley's job, that's going to take care of itself. Whether he's here or not will depend on the end of the season.
Yeah.
Now, now Charles, he's got a 3-year contract guaranteed.
It's not going anywhere.
And it's kind of uncomfortable to a certain extent talking about firing a coach after 2 games in a season. Now, let's let it play out. You got the right to voice your opinion and be dissatisfied. I'm not saying something else about that. But with that being said, some people texted me about, well, who you think is going to be the next coach? I don't care. I'm not even thinking that. Let it play out.
Yeah.
Let it play out the rest of the season. Now, if they're not successful tonight, we know what's going to happen.
Well, yeah. Well, as far as Coach Dooley's status, of course, I'm not there, but I read the tea leaves. But just like our fans are talking about Coach McNair, he's had success. It's been a couple of bad years, and we're off to a tough start. But Dooley, this is his second year. Money ties into that. Nothing's going to happen right now. I mean, even if he loses tonight, I know the fans are in uproar right now. Mm-hmm. I get it. I've been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. But it's not going to happen. As far as AD Banks, that's a whole nother story. Of course, ADs are tied to their coaches and vice versa. So, of course, when the football coach is losing, the AD that helped bring him there is going to be tied to it too. So I get all of that as well. That's just the nature of the business. That's just the way it works. I don't see anything happening, even after this season. I don't see it happening. We just don't, at our level, HBCUs, we don't can a coach after 2 years, especially a coach that's making pretty decent coin. With another year left, you got to buy it out. Are you going to do that? Probably not. So that's just my own opinion. With the West being what it is, let's just look at the division right now. We have a non-conference game coming up. Our conference slate opens up next week against Prairie View. They'll be right here. Texas Southern, you don't know what to expect there. They already have a loss. Body didn't play last week. You don't know what's going to happen there. UAPB has Miles College today. You know what's going to happen there. So
bad loss for Alabama State.
Bad loss for Alabama State. For the psyche of that. I mean, all the great work that they did against Southern was wiped off the map. But give Miles credit though. There are some coaches that have told me you don't want to see Miles, you don't want to play Miles. And there's a reason why that SWAC teams don't play Miles College in much of anything. Football, there's a reason for that. And because of what you just saw last week there. But the West is still wide open. We've yet to play. Texas Southern's behind the 8 ball. Prairie View with a big win over Texas Southern, but they lost to Tarleton last week. The West is still wide open. And I think that's what's frustrating the fans too, is the fact that this race is still up for grabs, and you can still take it if you just find a way to get some offensive continuity going. And not running the football, you've got to run the football. The Braves still run the football, even though it doesn't always work and it's not always successful. We stick with it. Jarvion Howard, Nico Duffy. Southern and any team has to be committed to running the football. When you spray it all over the lot, typically good things don't happen most of the time, especially in a quarterback situation. So I think for Dooley, he's always been kind of a pass-happy coordinator anyway. When you look at Kincaid at Grambling, you had Jalen Morton at Prairie View when he was there. He's always kind of been a pass-first guy as a coach, as a coordinator. So for him to get out of his comfort zone and run it more, that's, to me, is just not Dooley per se. Now, can he get off the hide and do it? Probably so, but is that his MO? Probably not. And is he going to have to do it? Yes, if he's going to be successful downrange. So like you said, some adjustments he has to make. The question is, will he make them? Coaches are stubborn, Carlos. We all know that coaches are stubborn, and it could cost them big time. We'll see if Dooley makes those adjustments or not.
Yeah, and speaking of the West, well, before we get to the West, after 2 weeks, it is clear cut. FAMU is the best team in the conference. without a doubt. Number 2, Jackson State. In the West, and I was just looking at it. Some of the teams, they look the same as they did at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about coming in with teams breaking in new quarterbacks and offensively. Yeah. In the West, who knows? Who knows? Simply put. But we do know if we rank the teams after 1 and 2, there's no doubt. But then after that, you can
Up for grabs.
put their names all in the hat and pick them.
Yeah.
And last week, non-conference games, I didn't know that Body didn't play, but 71-3.
Yeah.
You know, Prairie View gets beat, really beaten, 45-16. Alabama State, non-conference. And I'm sorry, Miles is a tough team. I understand that. But coming off of a win over Southern University, albeit offensively, Alabama State is still challenged to me. Defensively, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
You got to see some improvement. And then from week 1 to week 2, it's always a cliche, we see the most improvement. We didn't see it across the board. Not at all. Not one iota, Charles.
Yeah, I think for us, I think our defense, if I want to speak for Alcorn here a little bit, I think our defense really stood up and, with 3 interceptions last week. So I think our defense improved, but offensively it's a struggle. And special teams was tough. We gave up 2 safeties in a game, Carlos, last week against Stephen F. When was the last time you even heard that in a game period where one team had not 1, but 2 safeties? And we got, obviously, Coach McNair and the team, I was at practice on Thursday, they worked extensively on special teams to try to clean up that operation. So, yeah, I would agree that right now it's FAMU above the rest, no doubt. I'll put Jackson State 2, but then you take number 3. I was going to say Alabama State or Prairie View. I had one of those teams in there, the jockeying for 3, but both of them with bad losses, tough losses. So
all of them tied after 2.
Right. 3.
After 2. Yeah. Some worse than others.
Yeah, shake up the bag for number 3 through 12. So it's early, but for some teams it's not early. For some teams it's starting to get a little bit late, because if you haven't figured it out offensively with your continuity, when are you going to figure it out? And at some point the losses mount to where you can't catch up. And so this is a big game for Southern University, just to get the psyche going. And I just saw one of the posts that if they lose tonight, you lose the rest of the fan base. That's frustration. I get it. I respect it. You lose the rest of the fan base. But if you come back, and look, I'll say this about Southern. This is just Southern University. They typically get off to tough starts. That they drop 1 in September, but then they wind up bouncing back. They win big games in October, in November, and voila, you look up there in the championship game. Now, granted, it's Jackson State. Granted, it's the number 1 rival for Southern. As you stated, the number 1 rival for Southern football is Jackson State. 30,000 in the house, then it just wasn't a good look. But you still have time to right the ship. But what does the psyche come in if you don't win this game? You're 0-3. If they don't win this game, you're 0-1. Then where do you go from here? Then that's when I think the questions start to become a little bit more intense and massive. And then you really got to dig deep in terms of how you're going to figure it out.
Well, the old saying, from the outside looking in, being inside, being in Baton Rouge, tough.
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal, then some.
Yeah.
Well,
we're in the same boat, Carlos. I mean, our fans are in the exact same boat. We are very similar in a lot of ways, struggling offensively, even though our running game kind of got going a little bit. Offensively, we spread it out last week when 5 wide receivers empty set, we scored. And then we kind of went away from that against Stephen F. Maybe we'll get back to that tonight. But our fan bases are very similar, not happy. Obviously USM was tough, but, Stephen F. was a game we kind of hung in there. But this McNeese game, they're 0-2. They got $500,000 for playing Florida. They've given up over 100 points. And we got to get our offense going. We had 10 sacks last year against them. They were 15-0 against the SWAC historically until we beat them last year. We're at home, our first home game. We got to get this one just for the same reasons you all are looking for a win. Now, it's not a conference game, of course. Our conference starts next week, but for the psyche and mentality and the excitement and the energy and the synergy behind Braves football, we need this win to carry us into our SWAC opener next week against Prairie View as they come here in a big game.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. McNeese today, 6 p.m. Kind of looking in the chat room. Some agree, some disagree. Joseph says, well, I went away kind of fast there. But I guess he was saying he suspects some changes, particularly in oh, here we go. Dooley should probably be making change with the offensive line. They are not helping Blood or the running backs. I would agree with that statement. We kind of talked about it. I mean, wow. 10th in scoring, near the bottom in running game. And once again, balance on offense. Charles, you're talking about Alcorn, but they're not passing the ball. And against the elite teams, the good teams, they're going to take away what you do best, and that's running the football. So you're going to have to beat somebody passing consistently. Alcorn has to be balanced. Southern has to be balanced. I understand he's, offensive mind, offensive guru. And I think that's what is so frustrating.
Yeah.
For Southern Nation. But Charles, I'm sorry. They're gonna have to get better.
Yeah.
Being one-dimensional is not good. And then it's a lot of pressure on your defense.
Yes.
You'll have to carry the football game each and every week. No.
Yeah. Well, we said it all summer. Offensive continuity was going to be the story in this league with new coaches, new coordinators, offensive coordinators, and new quarterbacks. We knew that it was going to be a rough and rocky road for a number of these teams. And so is it shocking? It may be. Is it surprising to me? No. I mean, even through 2 games, no, we're still not there yet. So it's shocking to a lot of people. It's shocking the system. Southern's known for scoring points. We're known for scoring points. Not happening right now through 2 games. So is it shocking? Yes. Is it surprising? Not necessarily through 2 games. And we're going to have to figure it out. We're through non-conference now. These games really matter, and it starts today for Southern University. And it's a big game for the Jaguars. Again, like I said, in terms of just the balance. What does Coach Dooley do with this situation? And for us, what can Aaron Allen carry the day? Can we don't even have 100 passing yards, Carlos, for the first 2 games offensively. That's shocking. That is absolutely shocking for a Braves team that could score the football. Our running game got unleashed a little bit last week, and we're going to have to continue that with Jarvion Howard and Nico Duffy and company. Aaron Allen is more of the passing quarterback. He ran a little bit last week. He can show that, but we're clearly going to have to find some offensive stuff against this McNeese team. I do think if we punch them in the mouth a little bit and jump on them 21-0 or whatever, I think our defense can hold up. But can we do that, though? That's the story here, and I'm sure down in the Bluff, that's the story there.
Well, Willis says we are soft. He's referring to Southern University. Wow. What will a victory do for Southern University? Will it change the psyche and the mindset of the fan base? You still got to support the team, the staff, and the players. Adversity has hit early. How do you respond to it? Do you overcome it? These are questions that are yet to be answered going into tonight. Our first guest is coming up, so we'll take a timeout. Scheduled to join Mo Carter. He's a sports director, Fox 54 in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm going to ask him, is this a bittersweet moment, a time to get back home in his native state, a Southern University grad, but also, how does he feel emotionally? He played on the football under Coach Pete Richardson. How do you feel about this moment with Southern University struggle? Can Coach Dooley and staff and players rebound? Can they respond to adversity. We shall see. Coming up next, Mo Carter. We'll take a timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
I'm returning to Clinton Parish, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Parish, we take the pain out of being hurt.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Man, I'm
Welcome.
excited, man. We Bulldogs and we're ready to bite. You see, it's game week, it's conference week, and and this is gonna rub off on my team. Those guys are excited. We had a good practice this morning. Man, I'm very excited, man. We Bulldogs and we're ready to bite. Man, I'm ready to go. It's game week, it's conference week, and and this is gonna rub off on my team. Guys are excited. We had a good practice this morning.
Well, and you know that went viral. ESPN. We're joined now by Mo Carter, sports director at Fox 54 in Huntsville, Alabama, Louisiana native, Southern alum. Mo, welcome to the show once again. Mo, before we get into Coach Maynard, I just got to ask you, and I kind of led into it before the break. A Southern alum, played in the football program. This is work for you. You cover Alabama A&M, but boy, you got to have mixed emotions, I guess. Coming into this football game, Southern University struggling, Alabama A&M having more success. How are you feeling, Mo, about this whole weekend?
Well, it's been quite interesting to say the least, Carlos and Charles. Of course, this week Some folks have been dubbing this the Mo Carter Bowl for some reason. I guess because it's the team that helps me get a paycheck on a daily basis against the squad that I played, a number of years for in Baton Rouge, and been on several shows. All in all, trying to break this down. But clearly, I've kind of just approached it as just another work week. Just in general, sometimes you have to take out personal feelings with certain things and continue to just move on with a lot of stuff. And I'm sure you're about to ask me some things I've probably already talked about, but I'm okay with it. I've got the practice now, so I guess I can perfect it with you.
Yeah, well, great answer, Mo. But if you could separate, come on, how do you feel about this Southern football team? Is everyone panicking too much? Is it sensationalism? I've seen some articles about the demise of Coach Dooley.
Look, me personally, clearly I look around all the different alumni boards and social media things and whatnot, and you take certain things with a grain of salt. Me personally, I'm not ready to push the panic button yet, but I'll also say that there is a cause for some concern. I'm not pushing the panic button yet because at the end of the day, Alabama State and Jackson State, while those were losses for Southern University, they were also non-conference affairs, meaning that Southern has their entire season in front of them. If they take an L today against Alabama A&M, it continues to hurt the ante, but their season's still in front of them because, championships are not won in the month of September, and the way the Wild Wild West goes in the SWAC, they still have an opportunity to play themselves back into the race and, try to be the claim to fame with the preseason favorite nod to win the West all in all. So that's why I'm not ready to press the panic button. But at the same time, they need to do some things to kind of make the fan base feel a little bit better, for one, and then two, make themselves feel better and just do some other solid things to build some momentum for the rest of the season.
I couldn't disagree with that, even if I tried. Mo, you know very well how the Jaguar Nation is.
Of course.
The best thing about them is also the thing you don't want to get behind on their bad side. With that being said, Alabama A&M 1-1 on the season. They played up against Vanderbilt and then took care of business against Lane College last week. From a momentum standpoint, Coach Maynard is confident. Alabama A&M, how do they feel coming into this football game? Mo, I believe they feel very confident that they can come out with a W tonight.
Absolutely. Confidence has been the word on the hill here in Huntsville, Alabama, with the football program. They were still in the game with Vanderbilt well into the third quarter. It was a one-score game at least 7-8 minutes into the third quarter before Vanderbilt really started to pull away. And then last week against Lane, they were handling their own for a little while and then really just blew it open, doing simple things last week against Lane. So when you have situations like that, and then you go into the conference opener, things are looking on the positive for Coach Maynard and the Bulldogs, and they feel good where they stand at basically in all three phases of the game, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And, of course, this nice little rant that Coach Maynard has, which has now surpassed 80,000 views on my Twitter just in general, and also, went viral and all that or whatever. Like, that's literally Coach Maynard saying how excited he is, and he's like, we got the dog in us. He's not a member of Omega Sci-Fi or anything of that. His wife is a AKA, but he's not a Q dog or anything. I think I saw that come up in the chats. He's not a Q dog. He's just trying to show the world that, hey, he's got the bulldog inside of him, and this shows how much his team is ready to do well today down in Baton Rouge, a place that Alabama A&M has not done well in previous years.
Yeah, and kind of looking at some of the information, this is not, to me, and you tell me if I'm wrong, a typical Alabama A&M team as far as now they're a little bit more physical. They run the football. They've been successful running football, and then defensively they've been very physical. Coach Dooley talked about, man, he may have to go into the archives a little bit to look at this 2023 version of Alabama A&M.
Well, of course, there's no Aquil Glass. So, that's the first thing. And another thing you can kind of take a look at, too, is that with Alabama A&M, they've been trying to find an offensive identity since Glass has graduated. So last year, it was a lot of ups and downs, but they did have a few positive offensively in Donovan Eaglin, who eventually came through and was an all-SWAC performer. This year, Eaglin is joined in the backfield by a couple other guys that will kind of carry the load, including Ryan Morrow, who ran for almost 200 yards last week against Lane, ended up getting the SWAC Offensive Player of the Week and also received a national award from the Black College Football Hall of Fame. So, yeah, they want to really be more balanced, a little bit more run heavy, and they're going with quarterback Xavier Langford, who, at the end of the day, he's not going to put up 300 passing yards. He's just a guy that, as long as he plays mistake-free football, they're always going to have a chance. In the past, used to be, as long as we got a Aquil Glass, we always got a chance. For Langford, it's more like, as long as he plays mistake-free football and does, just runs the plays they call, they're going to have a chance with it. And, of course, here's another thing to take a look at. Under Kindness Boulware, the defensive coordinator, Alabama A&M has truly improved in a vast amount when you take a look at, yards allowed now thus far this year. And this year also, they've got 4 sacks on the season, which I know for sure Coach Dooley and his offensive coaches are definitely taking a look at, because if A&M already has 4 sacks, one guy has 3 of those 4 sacks, and Southern, I think, is giving up 9 sacks on the year. Yeah. That's definitely got to be something of concern when you look at the folks in the trenches for this game today.
You're absolutely right. And Charles, I heard a word that we've been talking about, balance on offense. Unlike what we've seen at Southern and Alcorn State. How important is that to be balanced? But this Alabama A&M football team is confident coming in. They have a confident coach. And Maynard is who we know. He's going to be out there. He's going to be confident. Some would say a little bit cocky. But important football game tonight at 6 p.m. for both teams.
Oh, correct. Absolutely important for both teams. And, for anyone that does not know Coach Maynard, yeah, look, he's very, very confident, flashes of cockiness or whatever, but also, too, he'll tell you in any way, shape, or form, as a player and now a coach, he has 18 championship rings, whether it's from conference championships or Arena Bowl championships or, HBCU national championships. So, he's got the pedigree. He's got the resume to go with it. Now he's just trying to make his team kind of reflect off of it from there. So, you have to think about when you have a coach like that, players want to kind of follow their coach. They want to do good things like their coach. And of course, you see all those things, but of course, Coach Connell Maynard, the man, I mean, he's a great individual as well. He's a very spiritual guy. Listens to gospel music before games. He's not really a rap and R&B guy or whatever. Like he literally listens to gospel and make sure all his guys go to church and make sure the guys are involved in the community. So those are things that I was able to pick up as a sports anchor and, journalist here in Huntsville, in following Coach Maynard with that. And of course, too, if anyone was shocked at what they heard from Coach Maynard, viral-wise or whatever, I'm just going to go ahead and just tell y'all that y'all slow to the party. Y'all really, really are. And I think think at some point in time, I'm going to probably pull some of the better sound bites he's presented to us, and then kind of just make a nice little compilation, so for the world to go ahead and see. Because look, there's more than just barking like a dog and showing his DMX impression. Let's not forget the Ric Flair impression. In the game, and there's some other things as well. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and put that together. All in all. But as far as like the coach kind of reflecting things upon his players, yeah, these guys are feeling quite confident moving forward. Can it be a bad thing for Southern? Absolutely. So at the same time, I almost look at it as a former Southern football player to be like, well, look, maybe we need to challenge ourselves a little bit more in that sense and situation. I'm really, really looking forward to what this game is going to show the Southwestern Athletic Conference foes that aren't playing in this game, what these two teams really, really could do when they get in the conference play.
Yeah. Charles?
Yeah, Mo, I would, in watching Coach Maynard's clips, I wonder, does Coach Maynard have a career in comedy? Because he can be really funny at times.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, he is certainly life of the party, and he's just a fun person just to be around.
Yeah,
he really, really is. And, anytime he's in front of a camera or has a microphone or whatever, sure, he's going to be serious when he needs to be, but he'll drop a joke or two, here and there. I know that, the Magic City Classic press conferences that, I've attended every year at the Coca-Cola plant leading up to games. He's always got one thing to drop in general, because he knows for sure, I got a crowd. I need to go ahead and just make sure that these folks are entertained in one way, shape, or form. So it's always a good situation. And of course, Coach Maynard, he just does a lot of good things, all in all. But as far as the fan base, the people love him because it's one of those things where I think either you like him or you hate him. And majority of the people that support him truly do like him.
Well, well, go ahead, Charles. You got another question?
Yeah. I was going to ask, just to bounce back from the championship in the spring with the glass and the weapons that they had in that team. I mean, that was a dynamic team. That's, one of the best in Alabama A&M's history. But then you had to move on from that. Just talk about the transition and trying to build it back up, because when you have, we had Steve McNair, and we, when it goes, it goes, and you try to rebuild it and build it back. How has the fan base been the last few years since they won that championship in the spring? And just, you had so many dynamic pieces, and Coach Maynard's been patient enough to be able to build it back with a lot of transfers. What's been that process been like for this program to try to get back up there?
Well, I know for sure that fall season tickets were definitely up for the first time in a number of years. And of course, they weren't able to repeat as, the SWAC football champions, but they were able to still get, record numbers, and also, get a lot of people to come in and buy into merchandise and things of that nature. Last year, of course, it was really a transitional era. They didn't win as many games. Certain games kind of just got away from them. But, the support was definitely always there. And then I've got to say this. You get a guy like Dr. Paul Bryant, the new athletic director, who comes in and he wants to show support to all of his coaches, from day one. And Coach Maynard has definitely been on board with what Dr. Bryant wants to do. And Dr. Bryant has been on board with what Coach Maynard wanted to do. First thing, I'll go ahead and say that Dr. Bryant was like, look, we got to find a way to just increase facilities, improve facilities. So Alabama A&M gets a brand new turf surface. As a matter of fact, Dr. Bryant has a previous history of installing turf at different places, including Grambling. Yeah. So he kind of just took the blueprint from Grambling, and I'm not sure if Grambling's turf is similar to the exact one Alabama A&M has, but I know they have the turf that has the cooling gels inside of them. So every time you walk on the field, it feels like 15 to 20 degrees cooler, and that worked out perfectly for this excessive heat that we had here in the Southeast, especially here in Huntsville. And of course, there's some other things that are in the works as well. Some blueprints have been finalized for basically an indoor practice facility for the football team. And of course, the basketball facility has, been state of the art after its first year in play. There's some other things going. So with football, you get those new pieces. And because you get those new pieces, now that helps the recruiting aspects. And now Coach Maynard and them just need to add some more W's, coming up. And, clearly they had a pretty decent crowd for the Lewis Cruz Classic. And I got to add this too. The football team is getting into the community and making connections. One good thing that they were able to do this year is that all students pre-K through 12 in Madison County, Madison City, and other closely located school districts, those students are getting in free for every home game this year.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. Every home game, I think, except homecoming against Tuskegee, and I think that's only because that game literally has limited tickets left or whatever, due to rivalry and things of that nature. But every other home game, anyone pre-K through 12, you're getting in free. So, I mean, that's something that's almost unheard of, in that age range. I mean, most time you get 5 and under, 7 under, 10 and under or whatever. But, you think about it, you got kids literally in the local area from the ages of 4 all the way to 18 that will be able to get in free for some dynamic football games and some dynamic contests that are on the schedule moving forward. So, but to answer your question all in all, Charles, yeah, the fan base has definitely been behind Coach Maynor. Now Coach Maynor knows he's got to add some more W's.
And see, and I know before the football season started, there was conversation of, and we always have these conversations about who's on the hot seat. Contrary to public opinion, I don't like putting coaches on the hot seat. Hell, I'm on the hot seat. Coach Maynard, is he safe? Because I'm seeing all these good things. Coach Bryant, and by the way, good morning, Coach Pettaway. And
He's safe.
Good morning. Willa, you would say that.
He's safe.
I'll help you with that. I think Coach Maynard is safe. In fact, Carlos, I just left Coach Maynard. That's why I wasn't able to get up on campus. But I just left the hotel. He's having fun. He was cracking jokes this morning, so he's relaxed. And I messed with him. I said, "Hey man, the next time you start barking, you better put a little more bass in your voice." I said, "It's a wow than the bulldog." So, but no, seriously, he's in a good place personally. So mentally, he's ready for the game, and he says, "Yeah, coach, we're ready. We're ready to play." So I'm looking forward to the contest tonight.
Well, look, don't beat me up. I got to ask a question. and Wheeler, shame on you.
And also, Carlos, let me go ahead and say this too. So I was about to literally almost say something of that nature as far as him being safe, but considering the fact that Coach Pettaway is a little bit more connected to the athletic department and administration than me, there's your answer right then and there.
He's safe, Carlos. He's safe. I've been knowing Coach Maynard probably about, I'm gonna say 15, maybe close to 20 years now. We're both A&T football alums, that sort of thing. And and I know Coach Bryant also. I've been knowing Paul Bryant probably for about 10, 12 years or so. And I see that they mesh. I kind of figured when that match was made that that was a good match for both parties. And Maynard likes to win. He's brash, young guy, that sort of thing. And Dr. Bryant likes to win, and he's brash, young guy also. And so I think they both see eye to eye, in terms of direction, that sort of thing. Maynard's going to talk it, and hopefully he's going to walk it like he talks it 99% of the time. But there are going to be some times when his mouth going to get his butt in trouble. And, but you kind of live with that and, roll with the punches and kind of keep it moving from there.
Well, we got a question for Coach Pettaway.
No, I didn't. And look, I answered that. I did not get over to see the basketball because I had to go to the hotel where the football team was to get my credentials, and I didn't have enough time to get all the way out to the F.D. Clark Center. So I'm back at my place at the hotel now. So no, I did not get a chance to see them. If they're working out this afternoon, I'll see them, because as soon as this is over with, I'm headed up on campus.
Yeah, I just got a text message. You're going to be tailgating with the Blue and Gold Century Club. Well, I guess I put it out there, but you're safe, Coach Pettaway. I literally got a text message 20 minutes ago from Craig Pierre of the Blue and Gold Century Club. Yep. And so, with that being said, don't you just love all the relationships that's have been built here in the HBCU landscape? Mo, back to you.
All right.
Alabama A&M wins this football game because
Alabama A&M wins this football game because of two things. They are balanced on offense, which really keeps Southern University on their toes. And
balance.
Yeah,
I love
they can win the game because they can be balanced on offense, and that'll keep the Southern University defense on their toes throughout the evening. And also, they would basically take advantage of not making mistakes. I was shocked when I saw that Southern in 2 games has 0 turnovers. 0. I was completely shocked. That they have 0 turnovers. So if Alabama A&M plays mistake-free football, then clearly, that does not work in the favor of Southern University. And I'll go ahead and add one of those. Here's an asterisk or whatever. History is, history can either play a foil or it can be a motivator for Alabama A&M as well. Alabama A&M, the football squad, has not won in Baton Rouge since 2007. It has been a long, long time. Matter of fact, in this series, they have not won a game since 2012, an overtime game in Huntsville in which Southern missed an extra point and Alabama A&M got their extra point and ended up winning that. But that 2007 game always sticks with me because I was a junior on that football team. We were the number 1 ranked team in the Sheraton poll at the time. I think A&M might have been about 4 or 5, but they were the defending SWAC champs. We ended up losing 33-28 to them on that evening, in which I think 13 points off of 3 turnovers went to the Bulldogs and their quarterback Kelsey Luke in that one. So clearly that was the one that always just really, really just sticks out to me. And then they didn't play each other, I think, for about another 2 or 3 years. But relatively since then, since they've been going on the road to play in Baton Rouge, it has not been a good situation for Alabama A&M. So, maybe they want to break the history mold as well with it.
Right.
Well,
he's right, because this is my 3rd trip to Baton Rouge for football. And we have not enjoyed a win here yet.
Well, I think you guys are very confident today. Your coach is very confident.
Yeah.
Coach Pettaway is confident.
Oh, yes.
And it is an important football game. A conference opener for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
We will hopefully see an outstanding football game. Mo, I appreciate the time. I know you're busy. Back in your native state. I appreciate the time, sir.
Well, Carlos, unfortunately, man, I could not make the trip today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back here in Huntsville. I had plans on it, but due to some personnel situations at our television station, I was not able to make the trip today. I'm a little heartbroken that I couldn't, because I like to pull the 2-for-1, all in all. But that's kind of how things goes. But I hope to be able to make the trip as a fan, for a home game, maybe 2 in the future coming up. But like I said, I've been looking forward to just seeing this game just in general. So I'll be in the studio tonight checking everything out. And also, Carlos, I want to add this to you. I know you mentioned Alabama A&M. I think Southern can win based off of 2 things: if they get turnovers and if they can get the rushing attack going. If they get the rushing attack going, then that takes a lot of pressure off of Harold Blood to be trying to throw it almost 40, 50 times as well. So if they can get turnovers and, really have more of a balanced attack themselves, I think that's how the Jags can pull off a victory tonight, too. I wanted to make sure I get that in there.
That's the key word, balance. That's the key word to today. One-dimensional offensive football is not good. Southern University, a -7 in turnovers, ball security in 2 games, and then an anemic. I guess I better not use the word I used earlier as far as the running game, but it's been anemic. Right. And it's got to improve, because if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm taking the game plans that I've seen Alabama State and Jackson State use, and I will settle with you beating me passing. I don't think you can beat me passing the ball consistently. And that's the way it is. But Mo, appreciate the perspective and outlook. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk again soon, sir.
Absolutely. You gentlemen always have a great day, and I always appreciate being a part of it. And y'all take care.
All right. Take care, Mo. Right. Wow. Alabama A&M 24-14 over Southern. And Wheeler, we're going to get into this topic now about the state of Southern University football. Coach Pettaway, former athlete, coach, Willa Brown, a former athlete, administrator, Charles Edmond, this Southern University football team. We often talk about adversity. How do teams respond to adversity? But boy, from a fan perspective, the Jaguar Nation is in a sour mood. Willa, you said Coach Dooley knew or should have knew what he was getting into coming into this football season. Coach Pettaway, have you ever been in a position where expectations are so high and then you get off to a rough start? And then can you overcome it? And what does it take for this team to overcome those adversity?
Well, you start in that locker room. You have to get to your players to believe that they can overcome the adversity that they're seeing. They have to be strong. They have to show a strong front as a group, as an organization. So those players and those coaches, everybody that's in those four walls, it starts there. It starts in their minds, them understanding and believing in the coaches and what they're doing. And one of the things I wanted to mention, I don't know the last time I saw a Coach Dooley coach team only average 12 points a game. You know, they're anemic on the offensive end, and I think that's going to be the big key. But I do know Alabama A&M has more balance in their attack than what Southern has shown thus far. But you got to remember, this is the other thing that I think they need to keep in mind. You don't blow the season up now, even if they lose tonight, because that's just one loss in the conference. Now, because those other two games were just regular season games, so you still have your goals in front of you, and they just gotta buckle up them chin straps, and they just gotta bring it. They gotta believe in themselves, and they're playing at home. That should give them the edge by playing at home. So they got to be able to do that. And then, like they say, blood can't turn the ball over. He's got to be a dual threat, I think. In other words, somebody's got to show Alabama A&M that they can run the football, because if they just rely on the pass, I'm not sure if they're going to beat the Dogs.
Willard?
Well, got to do some things differently. You know, not get away from who you are or what it is that you're trying to be, but, you know, things that you normally do during the week. You know, maybe you want to get away from those kinds of things and just kind of, I ain't going to say flip the script, but turn a few things upside down in terms of trying to get that camaraderie, that gelling that you're looking for. You know, I think I said last week, you know, you got to get rid of the noise. You know, and I'll say that again this week. You know, you can't go by the court of public opinion. You know, you can't be frustrated because the fans are saying this and the fans are saying that. You know, you truly have to circle the wagons as a program, okay, and really get into these kids' heads, get into their minds, and, you know, just let them know, you know, one mistake is not killing us on this. It's when we compound mistakes that are costing us to not win the ball game. So, you know, at the first sign of something bad happening, you know, we have to be able to put that behind us as quickly as possible. You know, get it back on the straight and narrow, get it back on focus, you know, and keep things moving. Just seems like right now, Southern's waiting for the ball to drop. You know, they're waiting for something bad to happen. And, you know, anytime you are playing like that, you know that at the first sign of trouble, you know, we're just going to maybe roll over for the rest of the day, or we're going to get into that mindset where today is not our day. And as coaches, they can't allow that to happen. You know, I mean, you get on whatever mistakes may be made, but you put it in the rearview mirror as quickly as possible. You know, you accent the positive, you pump up the positive, you know, and you keep them going from there. But like I said, now's the time to circle the wagon. Yeah. You got to get rid of all that outside noise, got to get rid of all the naysayers, got to get rid of all the boo birds, all the other stuff that goes with that, you know, and I say this for Southern as a program, not just in terms of the football program. I'm saying it athletically, period. It should be nothing but positives coming out of everybody's mouth. Going by, seeing a coach. When sometimes when we would go through hard times at a school that I was at, I'd send breakfast down to the coaches, to the football coaches. They come in one morning and I'd have food service catered breakfast in their office. And this would be after like a 3-4 game losing streak. And the mood would be like, wow, So, I mean, just little things like that, can go a long way towards improving camaraderie, improving attitudes, and, things of that nature. So you got to get outside the box. You got to do some things you didn't think about normally doing, but it's not about chewing everybody out and harping on mistakes, that sort of thing and stuff. It's about getting better. It's about doing better. It's about, like I said, circling the wagons. Everybody tie their bootstraps up, and let's go get this thing. But the seat is hot right now, and I think in every way. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. I don't think Dooley has to worry about his job or anything to that nature. But there was a lot that was expected from him coming in the door. And anytime you don't rise to those expectations coming in the door, people have a tendency to get off that wagon real fast. And I always tell folks, get off the wagon while it's moving slow, so that way when we speed up and get to rolling, you won't hurt yourself trying to get off. So go ahead and step off now. Go ahead and step off now while it's moving slow. And, because we getting ready to crank this thing up. And then Carlos, they just need to roll from there. But it's a total departmental attitude.
Yeah.
That's got to be in place. And it starts at the top. And I'm not asking anybody to do anything out of the norm or out of focus, and I don't want to hear a big rah-rah speech from somebody I've never heard from and all that sort of thing. That's not what I'm saying. But those coaches need to know those little subtle things in terms of administration being in their corner, that sort of thing. Coaches need to know that administration is firmly behind them, and I know Coach Banks is. There's no doubt about that. But they need to know that. They need to feel that. They need to understand that. We got people in our corner. And they need to try to keep it moving from there.
Yeah. And I think Coach Dooley has been in this long enough. He knows how to right the ship. And I think like on the weekly press conference, he accepted responsibility of where the Jaguars are. And he says, hey, it's my responsibility to get this thing turned around, and they're going to do it. So anytime that you hear the head man taking ownership of what's happening with the program, then that means those other people, they got to fall in line. Those assistant coaches, and like Mr. Brown said, that everybody needs to be on the positive tip. You don't need that negativity. And that's what those assistant coaches have to preach. And I guarantee that's what Coach Dooley is preaching. But the bulldog in me says that we want that to start tomorrow. Let them find their groove tomorrow.
Well, I have to agree with you, Coach Pettaway. My comment was kind of what you were just. I saw Coach Dooley's press conference the other day too, and he looked very calm, very poised, very professional.
He always looks the same to me. He doesn't,
Yeah, he doesn't panic. He's not a panicky type coach. He's not a rah-rah type coach. And so that's kind of what you want in this situation. You want to kind of calm the waters because it is just 2 games in. And and Coach Pettaway, I heard this about coaches and fans. I heard this a long time ago. They said if you're coaching for the fans, you're going to be a fan. That means you're going to be sitting in the stands. That means you're going to be without a job.
That's right. That's right.
So the reality is, Coach Dooley, obviously, I think he still believes in what he's doing. And look, this was a tough loss, and as the previous guest said, this is his first game that counts, and everything is still in front of you. I looked at Southern's schedule last year, Carlos. They lost to Texas Southern and Arlington, then reeled off, I think, 3 straight. They reeled off 3 straight and got back on track. So, yes, they played Jackson State. They played Bama State. 2 games against conference teams that you kind of see where you are. Now you're opening up against Alabama A&M team that's very confident. I think Southern has to be confident at home. And I think that's, Southern has played from in front the last 2 games, right? They led first. So they jumped out fast. Can they do that again? And if they fall behind early, let's say Alabama A&M jumps out 7-0. Is it going to be, here we go? And that's what you don't want, because if it's 7-0, then it could be 14-0 and 17-0, and then the game's probably over at that point, because now all of a sudden it's here we go again, and then you stumble and that's it. So I do think for Southern University, I do think they need to start fast. I do think they need to continue the continuity if they can, and especially running the football. To me, Carlos, there's only one team in this league that stays with the run when it doesn't work. It's right here. Alcorn State University. They stick with the run even when it's not working. But not every team does that. Not every team is patient enough. And I think for Coach Dooley, he has to do that. You can't throw it 50 times a game. You're not Patrick Mahomes. You can't sling it all over the yard like that and expect to win. Even for Patrick Mahomes, it's a struggle a lot of times. Southern has to run the football, I think, to settle this game down early at home.
Right. Now, Charles, one of the things that I'm going to be looking at A&M's first offensive possession, because in their first 2 games, they've scored on their first offensive possession in both games against Vanderbilt, and then last week when they played Lane, they did the same thing. So I'm going to be tuned in to see how effective they are on their first possession.
That's an interesting stat. And I'll still go back and harp on, running the football. We've talked about it. It's important. You've got to say, what have we talked about so far? Being balanced. Mo talked about Alabama. The teams that are not balanced, you can look and see they're not successful. Now, I want to run the football, but I also need to be able to pass and have success doing that. So the teams that have been one-dimensional, albeit early, you see what their record is. So, and then back to the fans. We all know fans are emotional. Hell, I'm part fan too. So, you still want to keep them happy though, because if you don't, I think you have to have a balance again. Coaching, they're doing all that they can. The players are doing what they can do. They're improving. The fan base, they're going to be angry. They're going to be upset. And I think if you look at each fan base, if they started out 0-2, they will feel the same way. So I don't want to cut off the fans' participation and voicing their opinion. But as Wheeler would say, you got to cut out the noise as far as the team and the coaches and the players. They got to be focused and zoomed in on improving and doing the best that they can do. Let me turn the conversation a little bit here. There was, and I read the article. It was an article in the Southern Digest. I think I shared it with Wheeler. I didn't share it with Vann Pettaway. And Coach Banks now is making the rounds on different platforms. Concerns, basically, and I put it in a nutshell, concerns on renewing Roman Banks' contract. And I think it was brought up on the show already. AD is tied to how well that the sports teams are doing. They have a lot of other things that they're in charge of, help putting a staff together, working with that staff, and having success. Commissioner trophy, the best overall athletic sports program. Simply, the writer expresses a concern that Coach Banks' extension is coming up, and they should basically take a hard, long look at it. And then she goes on to specifically say certain things that I guess she didn't approve on with Coach Banks. I've had Coach Banks on this show several times. He's been transparent. He's come on, and that's a good thing. Ultimately, I think you can't just totally tie him in with the success or not success of the football program. But overall, the buck stops, Wheeler, whether right or wrong, with coaches and the person that's over the athletic department. And mind you, the athletic department and the CEO of the athletic department, he has to answer to supervisors above him. So it's a balance again to get all things done. With that being said, I'll start with you, Wheeler, and then I'll come to Coach Pettaway and Charles. And I'll give my
Okay.
my perspective on it. Should Southern University renew Roman Banks extension when it's time?
From the outside looking in, Carlos, I say yes.
Okay.
And I say yes because, number one, you took a coach and pretty much made him an administrator. Okay? Coach Banks, coach basketball, as you guys know, for years and years, and has developed the skills necessary to become a more than adequate administrator. So he's homegrown, as I like to look at it, in terms of the Southern landscape and everything else that goes along with that. Okay? Having said that, we know, Carlos, and excuse me if I elaborate on this, we know that for a lot of our fan bases, there are really only three sports that they care about. Let's call it spade a spade. It's football, it's men's and women's basketball. Now, which is pretty much your revenue sport. Now, we know, you'll have a faction that loves baseball, that loves soccer, that loves volleyball, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, most of your departments are graded on that fact. They're graded on how well football does. They're graded on how well men's and women's basketball does. You take a program, and I'm going to throw Alabama State in the mix. They probably have won 7 out of the last 10 Commissioner Cups.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but nothing in football and men's and women's basketball. In the world that we are living in, even with all that success right now, Alabama State becomes an afterthought. They really and truly do, because they're not successful at the three platforms that mean the most in the eyes of fans and the world at large, that sort of thing.
Oh, wait a minute, Wheeler. I will say they've been successful in baseball.
Okay, yeah, they've been successful in baseball and volleyball and tennis.
Track and field, cross country. But your point is,
country. I mean, the list goes on and on. They've also been right up there in terms of GPA, in terms of graduation rates, and the whole 9 yards with that.
But I know a but's coming.
You don't see them getting their just due for having probably, arguably, the best overall athletic program in the conference. It's almost like they're an afterthought. So I mean, and to me that's not fair at all.
It's not.
The AD needs to be judged on all cylinders, not just your top three sports. So I would have to look at where Southern is in terms of the all sports. If they're in the upper third of the conference every year, that's what I want. Now the tick about that is that when you got an $18 million budget, which is the top of the food chain in the SWAC, then there's certain expectations, I think, that go along with that. And so I think people are more peeved or pissed when they look at the fact that Southern's got the largest budget in the SWAC, but we can't win, in football and that sort of thing. So I think the criticisms come pretty much from that aspect. But I believe Coach Banks is deserving of, an extension. I think he's got things moving in the right direction. At some point in time, he's got to self-evaluate and see where some of these other sports are and whether or not he needs to make some changes. And, some of the coaches of some of the other sports that are quote unquote underperforming, looking at scholarships and all that sort of thing. Seems like you guys are fully funded in that area. I don't know what the recruiting budgets are, things of that nature. I'm sure everybody could use a few more dollars, that sort of thing. But, when you got the reputation of having the largest budget in the SWAC, then there's a certain amount of pressure that comes along with that. That young lady that did the article, she talked about the lack of quote unquote transparency or information coming out of the department, that sort of thing. I would say look at the university overall. Okay, the athletic department's informational flow a lot of times is in line with the flow of information from the university. It's not going to be where the athletic director is going to be out there talking every 5 minutes, that sort of thing, if your president is not doing the same. His mode of communication is going to be in line with the university's mode of communication overall. So if it feels like there's some secretive things going on or what have you, it's probably because there's some secretive things going on above him or up top of him, that sort of thing. So he's not going to put the cart ahead of the horse. So I think people need to look at the entire hierarchy before they look at the trickle down to where Coach Banks is when it comes to that area. And I'm sorry that I took up everybody's time.
Yeah, but okay, I agree with Mr. Brown. I think AD Banks should get an extension, and I don't understand. Now, to me, he's been transparent. I can recall a couple of weeks ago he came on and he told us all about some of the different projects that was going on. Something that's in the back of my mind. It was something had to be reevaluated because they found some structural damage that they didn't know about in something. Oh yeah, I think that was the locker room. Right. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, I think, to me now, from what I've heard from him over the years, he has been transparent, unless I'm missing something. But when I hear him talk, and I'm not a part of Jaguar Nation, but I understand what's going on at Southern because of the details that he gives, the reports that he puts out there. So I just think that every team in this league wants to win that Commissioner's Cup, but only one team is going to get it, and one school is going to get it. So the Southern fans, they just have to be patient, and I guess that's the wrong thing to say to the Jaguar Nation. Be patient, because you all just don't have that. They're not looking for that. They don't care about patience. This is a microwave society. They want instant gratification now. But I think if they just be patient, I think AD Banks has already shown that he knows what to do, knows how to do it. And to me, he's helping all of his sports. And I think that's the biggest thing that I always wanted to see in an athletic director. I wanted to see an athletic director that didn't just put all the marbles in football and basketball. Make sure that the other sports, because you can win. Do you know that you can win a football championship and a basketball championship? You still can't win that trophy.
Yep.
You can't win it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You got those other sports, the Olympic, those other sports have to have a commitment. You got to make a commitment to those other sports if you want to try to win that trophy. But now the other thing that we got to think about too, what determines the success of an athletic program? Winning the Commissioner's Cup, that's not the only criteria for success.
Graduation rates.
Right. There are a bunch of things that come into play to run a successful program. And I think at Southern, I think you're seeing that. I think that at Southern, those things are actually happening. And I hope that the fans would just give him a chance. The administration need to look and know that they need to Renew his contract. He deserves it, in my opinion.
For me, Carlos, I've been a Roman Banks fan for years. And, the judgment of a person is what you do in the tough times. If you recall, Southern Athletics was going through a tough time with the certification of student athletes, however many years ago that was.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Banks was leading the charge then, and he probably could have walked out the door, was pushed out the door then. But he stood tall. He was transparent about what was going on, and he got Southern on the other side of that. That's what won him as far as Charles Edmond is concerned. So for me, Roman Banks, I do think he deserves another contract.
Right.
As far as transparency is concerned, Southern University, like every other school in this league except Bethune-Cookman, is what? A public institution.
Right.
Salaries, budgets are public record.
Yep.
You can find out the salary and the athletic budget of every school in this league except Bethune-Cookman. I work for a public institution. My salary is public record. Our station budget is public record. So you can get the information if you really want to get it. As far as lack of transparency, they may not tell you, but the information is out there. It's on paper. You got to work to get it in some cases, but it's still available. But I think Roman Banks has been very good for Southern Athletics, in my opinion. I think in this conference, ADs are tied to the success or failure of football coaches. So if Dooley is not successful, unfortunately, or fair or unfair, Dooley's going to be tied to that. And so we have a situation in this conference right now. You got Texas Southern. You got Dr. Kevin Granger. The football program's trying to elevate, and so in another year or two, if body in that program doesn't elevate, what happens with the football program? What happens with McKinney? They're going to have a new president coming in there. So ADs are tied to football coaches and vice versa in this conference. Wheeler Brown said it. It is three sports. But if football does not win, and if an AD is in charge of hiring a football coach and that coach fails, he or she is responsible for hiring another coach and that coach fails, ultimately the AD is going to be shown the door. You're only going to get a couple of cracks at it. There's too much money, too many scholarships, too much out there. So the success of if Southern was 2-0 instead of 0-2, we wouldn't have this conversation about Roman Banks. But they are 0-2, so therefore Dooley and Banks are tied together. And so to me, I think Roman Banks deserves another contract. And they've added some sports, as he's talked about on this show, and he's very transparent. He talked about the locker room project, right? He said another $500,000 is needed because of some other issues. And he was very brutal. And what stood out to me in that interview, he said, look, bake sales and crawfish sales and catfish plates sales, that's okay. But we need some heavy hitters to come forward to help make that project go. And so that's very transparent to me, because I don't know if a lot of ADs would have come out and said it like that, but I see it, and he's very honest and transparent about that. So to me, to answer the question, I think Roman Banks deserves another contract. Just got to steady the ship. If Southern football wins today, you won't hear Roman Banks' name mentioned. But if he loses,
you would, Charles, because I'm not trying to be funny. I'm serious here. There's a segment that did not even want Coach Dooley.
Wow.
I think someone brought it up. I think Wheeler last week. You talked about the stars. You'd be amazed at some of the names that are being thrown out already. The star coaches.
Ed Reed
got the. I'm not going to say that name. I'm not going to say it.
Ray Lewis.
I'm not going to say that name. No, and by the way, I hadn't heard that one. But to me, once again, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm all in for the guys who want an opportunity, that are hungry, that are young, are innovative, and they don't have that $1 million name. Give them an opportunity if the time comes. I'm literally about to puke when I hear about, well, get rid of this one and bring in the star. Damn it, no. That's just my opinion. I'm always fight for the guy who has paid the price. Coach Pettaway, you always talk about somebody. If if you never give them a shot,
Right.
I don't have the name. So you mean to tell me I'll never be able to transcend and get things done because I don't have the star name? And hell, some of these people, those names, did not even sniff an HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
But here we go. We're going to give them the opportunity when they didn't do a doggone thing.
Right.
I mean, now granted, some may have took an official visit, but we got to take care of our own.
I agree. That's been me, Carlos, and I'm gonna tell you something. You hit the nail on the head because I had that same conversation in 1986 when Coach Joe called me and said, "Vann, I'm going to Southern. You can come go with me, or you can see if A&M is going to give you this job." Well, the president we had, Dr. Covington, he wanted a name coach. He told me that to my face. He said, "Coach, I just think we need a name coach." I said, "Oh, yeah?" I said, I throw out some names. He threw out some. Then I said, "Let me ask you something. How did those people get their start?" Somebody gave them an opportunity. I said, "I will have a name if you give me an opportunity." And so he said, "Okay." So they gave it to me on an interim basis. But the moral of the story is that president wanted a name coach. Didn't nobody know who Vann Pettaway was. I was just a former athlete, an assistant coach, but he gave me an opportunity, and that's all I needed. I took advantage of that opportunity. But if we don't give these people an opportunity, they're not going to have a name. They'll never have a name if they don't get an opportunity.
And I'll tell you, Carlos, and Coach Pettaway, most of the people who are screaming, hire the star, have never been at the back of that line trying to work themselves up to the level that we all trying to achieve to. They've never been in the back of that line, Carlos, and had people leapfrog over them.
Right.
That were not as qualified, that had not paid their dues, that had not put in the time, the blood, sweat, and tears in terms of trying to reach that very same level that some people are just walking in the door and they've been anointed, the next savior of this or the next savior of that. So that really, oh man, that gets under my skin when people start talking in that manner. Do you know of all the football coaches throughout America that have worked their way up through junior high school, graduate assistant in college, going to fetch coffee and donuts for the head coach, and all working their way up the ladder to try to get an opportunity, to become a head coach? For somebody who just steps in the door and say, "Hey, I'm here. I played 20 years in the NFL and I'm in the Hall of Fame. Give me the job. I'm worthy." It's just, it's just something about that, Carlos. But like I said, most of the people who are screaming for that to take place are people who've never been in that back of that line, people who've never had to toil, coming up, through the ranks, that sort of thing. Never had to get their fingers dirty and all that sort of thing. They just see what's happening out there and look at the press clippings and all that sort of thing. That can happen at my school, where we see that the likelihood of that happening at your school is like slim and none.
Yeah, well, and they couldn't go to their respective universities where they matriculated through. Some got a degree, some didn't, but most did. You don't get a shot there. But
Exactly.
you could come down to HBCU because they're so forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll get off of that. But to the point, Charles, and sorry to interrupt you, but there's a faction, and you just got to just be simple and plain with it. Did not want him, and now with this going on and what's happening, they're even louder. They're chirping and chirping. And guess what? I don't care if I have to stand by myself. I'm still supporting the coach, the AD as is until otherwise. And guess what? If they fail to succeed, it'll be because or they didn't do something, but at least I'm still going to support them
Yeah.
in the players. Am I disappointed? Hell
Yeah.
yeah, I'm disappointed. 0-2, but guess what? I just can't give up. I just can't do it. I can't give up on them.
No.
And it's just the way it is. But I remember Coach Pete Richard told me the best thing about the Jaguar Nation is also the most disappointing. They'll love you to death when you're winning, but then if you're not, it can be very troublesome, very troublesome. So, Coach Dooley, I hope you come out tonight, and I hope you turn things around. I'm still with you. I'm still with Coach Banks. I'm still with the university that I graduated from, Southern University, and hopefully everything will turn out right. 12:37 Central Standard Time. Go ahead, Charles.
I mean, look, we're in the same boat, Carlos, in terms of just success. Okay, so here you have a coach in Fred McNair that at one point won 6 straight division titles and was on top of the mountain, and people loved him. 2 bad years in a row coming off the COVID and all of that, and now all of a sudden people are like, okay. And with every loss, the anger is building just like it is down there. But then you bring up, it's getting vicious here too now. I will say that. I mean, we're all on social media. You know, I get calls every single week after every single loss, and it's vicious out there, I can tell you. But then when you say, well, look at his track record. He won 6 straight division titles, been to Atlanta and all that. No one's talking about that now. And this is a what have you done for me lately society.
Yep.
What have you done for me lately society? And I'm learning that in the most brutal way because no one is even talking about that right now. And so we're in a new era of fandom and pressure to win and getting it done right now, especially when you're seeing teams like Jackson State win at the level that they're winning, other programs with bigger budgets doing things. So there is a lot more pressure to win now as compared to maybe 10 years ago where you had a little bit of time to kind of build it up. You don't have that now. You got to hit the ground sprinting, not running. It used to be hitting the ground running. You got to hit the ground sprinting. And there ain't many Carl Lewises out there.
and you know, good point. And guys, a Southern Night sent me some information. Trey Oliver. I think you know him well. The first 2 years, not good. And, you know, first year not good. Second year mediocre. Now in the last 19 conference games, I think he's 16-3. So what does that say based on, and then my question, and then we'll move on. My question to the panel is, when did this specifically start the pressure to win and now no honeymoon period? I have a theory when it started. Well, you're saying money, but specifically, well, money meaning paying the coaches. Okay. Well, historically, coaches in this conference, football we're talking, and we should have this conversation. Our peers in the Southland didn't get, quote unquote, paid as much as HBCU football coaches, but when it came to head-to-head competition, the SWAC didn't do well. They didn't do well in those non-conference games. So again, besides the money, specifically, when did this start? That now you got to win.
I think certain programs, Carlos, have always been in that category.
Well, no, I understand that.
I think Southern has, probably Jackson State has, FAMU has, North Carolina A&T has. You know, there are more than a handful of these programs that have always been that way. You know, for as far back as I can remember. You know, so those things haven't changed at all. But Charles made a good point last week or maybe week before last. When you start paying these coaches around $300,000 a year, like some of these programs are paying now, you know, that necessitates a let's get it done right now type mindset also. You know, so back when you were giving a coach $125,000, $130,000, you know, maybe the roar wasn't as loud. But for some of these programs, that roar has always been loud, and coaches know that when they take these jobs. You know when you become the head coach at Southern University that you're going to have to get it done right now. You know when you become the head coach at Grambling, the pressure is to get it on right now. You know, and like I said, the list goes on and on.
Well, I'll say this quickly.
Wait a minute, Charles. That's a valid point. Southern, FAMU, Grambling State, they've always been the expectations to win. But if you tie in 10, 15, 20 years ago, and we know Coach Doug Williams had a big salary, then Coach Pete Richardson. But I think you had better success compared to now when you're getting paid more. And then with the head coaches, here we go again. If you have a budget, say, of $8, $9 million, we use that, and the head coach is getting the majority of that, what about the assistant coaches, the position coaches? They're not paid well, and they do a lot of the coaching. So much is given. I understand, Willa, much is given, much is expected, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you compare and contrast, I think you had teams winning more consistent and better with less pay.
But I think, Carlos, the onus is on the head coach in the negotiating process, you know, to make sure that that coach's salary pool is where it needs to be. That's all of that process. I think a lot of times coaches, when I've sat in on negotiations, things of that nature, they want at least double in the coaching pool what the head coach is making, or at least close to that number, you know, in order to be able to hire quality people in order to get the job done. So these coaches know that, you know, and they go in pretty much in a negotiation process fighting for those dollars in that assistant coaches pool. You know, I haven't been in a negotiation yet when, you know, a coach has not brought up the fact that, hey, you know, I need to pay my coordinators $85,000, you know, or I need $70,000 for the offensive line coach, or I need, you know, $65,000 for the running back coach, or, you know, things of that nature. So that's all a part of supposed to be all a part of the process. And it's a foolish coach, Carlos, that doesn't go in to that process trying to negotiate the best dollars he can get for his assistant coach, knowing that his success is going to be tied to whether or not he's able to bring in the best coaches possible. You know, so if they give me $300,000, okay, I'm foolish to think that I'm going to be able to get all that done by myself with a $25,000 offense coordinator, a $30,000 defense coordinator, you know, a $15,000 running back coach. You know, I'm going to be out of there so quick it's going to make my head spin.
Yeah. Well, Carlos, let me say this real quick, and I know we don't talk about Coach Sanders, but let's play this out. Let's say Coach Sanders stayed at Jackson State. Let's say he was at Jackson State now. All right, with the amount of money that he was getting, and if they won the SWAC, just think how much money he will be getting now, and how that elevates other coaches and puts pressure on administrations to be competitive.
Yep.
That's you got 4 coaches in this conference making over 3. Coach Sanders will be making over 4. So that's going to bump those coaches up. That's going to bump the mid-tier coaches up. And it's going to bump the bottom-tier coaches up. Now,
can we afford that, though? I mean,
see,
hey, you know,
I'm just saying, I don't know whether we can afford it or not, but you're talking about being competitive in terms of your assistant coaches pool, in terms of your head coaches and getting the best. That all of that is out there. And you have to, you know, it's willing and able. Every AD is willing to do it, but not every program and school is able to do it. But you want to be competitive, you know.
Hey, Carlos, I'll put it like this, Carlos.
So not 700,000 would be the going rate. 800,000.
Carlos, do you want to play the game or do you want to play at the game?
Say that. Wait a minute. Say that
That's
again.
The question.
I'm a little slow. Say that again.
Do you want to play the game or do you want to play at the game?
Because
if you want to play at the game, if you want to play at the game, then you're going to low ball and all that sort of thing and stuff and not be able to give these head coaches what they want. But if you want to play the game, okay, then you're going to have to step up in the same manner that your competitors are stepping up, who are doing well, and you may have an anomaly every now and then, where a bottom feeder steps up and bites somebody in the butt and go all the way, that sort of thing. But more often than not, it's those top feeders that are going to rule the roost, so to speak, on a regular basis.
Well, they can win in the conference, but I'm also going to look at how they do outside the conference with their peer, and I think that's valid to consider that. Much is given is what I'm hearing from
Definitely.
Much is given, much is expected.
Definitely.
And sometimes that doesn't mean you're going to have a great program across the board. But, hey, 600,000, maybe 700,000. Coach Sanders is still here in the SWAC. The going rate he's winning. Who steps up next? Valley can't pay 800,000.
No.
Alabama State can't pay 800. I'm just throwing that term out. I think we just have to be very careful. Yeah, you live in a capitalistic society. A coach has to get what he figures he's valued at. But once again, I'm still looking at those other guys because the head coach does not make a football program or a basketball program. He can't do it alone. Ooh, boy, 1248. Where do we need to go now? I appreciate everyone coming on. It's always a lively discussion. Last week, and here's my recap. Oh, I have it here somewhere. SWAC recap last week. And here's what I mean, guys. Let's just say it was a tough week in the conference. Everybody fair with that statement?
Yes.
Well, okay. Toledo over Texas Southern. I didn't know Body didn't play. But somehow I figured maybe it would have been 61-3. Just not a good performance. Bethune-Cookman, they defeated Savannah State 31-6. Tennessee State defeated UAPB 24-14. Of course, it was Jackson State over Southern 27-14. A shocker. Miles over Alabama State 21-17. I guess they were still celebrating that victory over Southern University. Game one. But historically, Miles is tough, and they brought it. Stephen F. Austin over Alcorn State. Now, Charles stated Alcorn was able to run the football. Defensively, they got 3 picks. So the score doesn't indicate how close it was, Charles?
That is correct. It was a 1-score game in the third quarter, and our offense just couldn't get it going. Special teams, we gave up 2 safeties. Our defense just wore down. So, yes, offensively, just like Southern with the quarterback play, we got 2 quarterbacks. Aaron Allen's going to start today. We got to find a way to get some offensive continuity throwing the football, and that's been the troublesome part of this for the first 2 weeks.
Wow, isn't it funny? Harold Blood throws for 300 yards.
I'll take that.
And we're not happy. Alcorn quarterback, they can't throw for 100 yards. Go figure. Go figure. South Florida over FAMU 38-24, 14-point loss. FAMU, without question, best team in the conference. There's no debate, no discussion about that.
That is correct.
Yeah, they scored in every quarter.
And they come to Baton Rouge in a couple of weeks.
Ooh.
We shall see. Abilene Christian, I'm disappointed. Prairie View loses 45-16, but I guess it was close perhaps to the fourth quarter. We don't know. I have to look into the particulars of that number. LSU over Grambling State, 72-10. It was, 14-10 at one point?
Yeah.
My phone is blowing up. See, Grambling State can run the football. Had a 100-yard rusher. By the way, thoughts and prayers to the young student athlete that got injured, a serious neck injury. Godspeed to the player. And then Thursday night, Miami over Bethune-Cookman, 48-7 over Bethune-Cookman. Today, GSU and Florida Memorial at 2 p.m., UAPB, and Miles at 4 p.m. Watch out, UAPB. Can Miles lead the conference, beating UAPB and then beating Alabama State. We shall see. FAMU and West Florida. Dangerous game in the beginning of the season, talking about it. I think FAMU rolls today. West Florida, pretty good team, but FAMU is just, they're pretty doggone good. Alcorn and McNeese. I got Alcorn getting on the win column against McNeese. We shall see. Prairie View and them at SMU. No, that is what it is. That's tough. Southern Alabama A&M, TSU at Rice, and Jackson State at Texas State. A very interesting game playing up. I believe Jackson State will score some points, but Texas State will win. Of those games, Coach Pettaway, which one you looking forward to besides Alabama A&M and Southern?
West Florida and Florida A&M. I'm looking to see if Florida A&M can continue to show all of us how good of a squad they have, and I just hope they can get through that game without getting injuries, so that they can get ready for the conference slate. But I'm with you. I'm really impressed with Florida A&M and what the Rattlers are doing on the football field.
Breaking news. Coach Pettaway, Craig Pierre says Carlton Rice and you will tailgate with the blue and gold. Make sure you tell him to enjoy. We are frying fish, his favorite today.
But look, I'm going to tell you something. See, Carlos, I've been here since Thursday. I came to Baton Rouge on Thursday, and we've had a great time, man. It's just something about the SWAC, man. Is meeting people, and we keep saying this, but it's true, man. All the way from Huntsville and Baton Rouge, and it's just like I'm at home, man. You got so many people that have reached out and have taken me different places, man. So it's nice to be here, man. And I want to watch a great game tonight.
And speaking of that, Blue and Gold Century Club, great sponsor of the Carlos Brown Show. We appreciate them. And just want to encourage you to ride with the Blue and Gold Century Club to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, September the 30th. Cost $155, which includes game ticket, refreshments, and a ton of fun. Contact Craig Pierre at 225-324-7234. And hopefully it'll be a better mood. Southern, sorry, Coach Pettaway, hopefully coming off of a win, and then in 2 weeks they have an off week. Willa Brown, I saw some pictures of you in your days at North Carolina A&T. Very impressive. Any game that you're gonna be in particular? Oh, by the way, someone asked, "Were you from Mississippi?" No, I don't think so. Baltimore or Maryland?
Baltimore is my home, and but I'm interested in the Southern game this evening. When we talk about back being against the wall, it is truly against the wall right now. I mean, even though like we say, still got a lot of season left, that sort of thing. But losing begets losing. And it's easy for that thing to snowball. And you don't want it to get a run to where it manifests itself tonight, and then they not be able to get out of that funk for another 2 or 3 weeks. So I think it's big tonight. I'm interested to see what kind of adjustments Coach Dooley and his coaches have made. Interested to see what kind of attitude the kids come out with, that sort of thing. Are they ready to play? Or are they waiting for the ball to drop, that sort of thing? And I'm going to go with Southern tonight.
Yeah,
I think it's time for them to turn it around. I think it's time for them to get it on track. And I think they're gonna run for a while. They're gonna roll for a while after this one. But you just got to get that first one up under the belt. And Coach Maynard's my homeboy, and fellow alum and all that sort of thing and stuff. And so I hate rooting against them. But I've been in a situation where Southern is in right now. At a couple of schools, and I can see how quickly it can turn around, but I've also seen that sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes you never get out of that hole. So, it's going to be a testament to Coach Dooley and his staff in terms of how they get these kids ready and how they turn this around. Because it's truly, we say it's on the kids. It's not on the kids. The coaches got to dig them up. They got to dig them up. They got to get them up out this hole. Whatever it is, whatever tricks of the trade, mentally or what have you, they got to go back to coaching 101, that sort of thing and stuff, and dig out all of the things that are necessary in order to get these kids moving forward. But I think they do that this evening.
Charles, we got about 4 minutes left, and then I have something to say about facing adversity. But go ahead, Charles.
Winning is contagious. Losing can be contagious if you allow it to be. And so we'll see if Southern can bounce back tonight. The game I'm looking at as far as the Western Division is kind of off the beaten path. UAPB is a team that I'm eyeing a little bit. They had a pretty good crowd in that Southern Heritage Classic up there. They're playing Miles. I know, don't sleep on Miles. I said that, and Alabama State got tripped up. And if UAPB plays with it, they're going to lose at home. So I'm looking forward to that. That's the one game I'm looking forward to see if UAPB with a first-year head coach can kind of get it going. So that's the one thing. The other game, obviously, Southern and Alabama A&M. I don't know, Carlos. I don't know. Last week,
I know. Go ahead and pick Alabama A&M. I can tell it's coming. Go ahead. I know it's coming.
I'm just concerned as a person that follows Southern whether that offense can get going. I mean, I think Southern's defense, even though they've struggled, but when you're throwing it all over the yard, 3 and out, you back your defense up. I don't know if Southern can get out of the hole right now. And so I think if Southern gets off to a faster start, I think they'll win the game. But if it's the same old saying, they jump out 7-0, next thing you know, you look up at 17-7, here we go. And, the one saving grace quickly is that if you lose this game, you're 0-1, but you still have the other division games that if you win out in those, then you're still right where you want to be. So if there's a saving grace there, it's that. But Southern needs to win this game. I'm gonna, as much as I love the Jaguar Nation, I love them. I've eaten with them, but I'm going with Alabama A&M.
And then I think you already know. You already know.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna be real short. I think we're gonna get this game because right now I don't think the mindset is in the right place for Southern. So if we're gonna win at Southern, tonight is the night.
And we're not surprised. At least I'm not. With Charles. Charles probably will pick against Southern 10 times.
No, sir. No, sir. I had Southern beating Alabama State. I had Southern beating Alabama State. I had them in the first game.
That was an exception to the rule. But look, on a serious note, I often talk about overcoming adversity, and I kind of been wrestling with this for 2 months. So I'm going to say this, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Coach Pettaway, you probably could appreciate this. A lot of times we have to deal with health issues.
Right.
And right now I'm dealing with a health issue. It's called chronic kidney disease. Wow. And so I've been fighting it. And so I've kind of been wrestling about going over with it. So I just want to tell you, I'm a fighter. And I always talk about it, so I got to practice what I preach. You've got to overcome adversity. I'm doing much better. I'm going to just be brutally honest with you. I'm on dialysis, but I'm doing it at home.
Gotcha.
And so I had a younger brother who passed from the same situation. Some of it is genetics, but I got a good staff around me at home. Medical. And so the nuts of this is this: I will need a kidney transplant. And so that's just the way it is. Not worried at all. But as Black men, we must continue to look at our health and make it important. And I've been fighting with this issue for a while, at least 4 or 5 years. So I look to overcome it. and I preach it, overcoming adversity. So I look forward to going forward. I'll have a birthday coming up October the 29th, but I'm going to need a kidney transplant, and I'm going to get it. And that's the way I look at it. So don't feel sorry for me. Prayers.
Yeah.
I will take that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be all right one way or the other. So I just wanted to say that and share that with everyone. Your health, you got to stay on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, it'll be all right. Quickly, closing comments, or do we need any?
No, we don't need any. Thanks for sharing, man. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing, because our people need that. Thanks, Carlos.
And Carlos, you're a fighter. You're a fighter to the utmost degree. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. No doubt about that whatsoever. You're always going to come out swinging, and you're going to knock out whatever opponent's in front of you. So, know that you got our continued support. Anything we can do on this end, you ain't even got to shout loud. Just whisper, and we'll be there. Ain't no doubt about it.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir. I'm all right. Now I'm going to go enjoy some football and do the good things. But again, I just wanted to share that with you. It was on my heart to do it. I wanted to do it last week. So, hey, it's going to be all right. I want to thank Roy, everyone who chimed in, let the discussion continue. And I love this. Saturdays, this makes my day talking with you guys. So much love and peace. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition. There you go, Charles. Get ready for the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, peace and God bless. Go Jags. And by the way, Jaguars, I got them winning. Come out fighting, swinging, hitting it with that move. Peace.